"Step aside, Emily. That chair isn't yours anymore." The words landed harder than a slap across the face. I froze mid-step, halfway to the seat I'd claimed at every family dinner for years, right beside my grandfather. My mother's hand drifted over the backrest, her smile sharp as broken glass. "It belongs to Lauren now," she said smoothly, tilting her head toward my brother's wife. "Before we dive in, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget, after you finish this video, share what you would do in this situation. Be honest." I read every single comment. Now let's begin. The table shifted with unease. Plates clattered, silverware rattled, but not a soul spoke for me. Daniel, my brother, smirked as if this were nothing. His wife Lauren flashed that pitying smile, sweet on the surface but dripping with superiority. "You don't belong there," my father muttered into his wine, not even bothering to look at me. The words crushed into my chest, twisting tight. Not welcome in my own family. My throat ached, but I swallowed it down. Showing weakness here would only give them satisfaction. "I see," I whispered, clutching the strap of my purse until it bit into my palm. "Enjoy dinner." I turned away, heart pounding, shame scorching through me as I walked toward the door. Each step away from that table cut like a blade. Behind me, faint laughter and whispers circled like vultures. My fingers brushed the brass handle. Then a voice thundered through the noise. "Emily." Grandpa's voice. The room froze. Forks hovered midair. Wine glasses stalled inches from lips. My hand trembled on the door as I turned slightly, meeting his gaze. "Come back," he ordered, his tone firm, his eyes blazing with something none of them seemed to understand. "Dad." My father began, but Grandpa lifted one hand. Silence fell instantly. "Actually," Grandpa continued, his voice cutting through the air, "this house belongs to Emily." The room shattered into shock. Chairs scraped back. Jaws dropped. Daniel sputtered on his wine. Lauren blinked rapidly, and my mother's face went pale. I stood frozen, my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. Grandpa leaned forward, resting both hands on the table. "And maybe it's about time you all treat her like the one who's kept this family standing while the rest of you weren't paying attention." The silence that followed was suffocating. No one moved. The chandelier hummed above us. Steam curled lazily off the roast as if nothing had just detonated. My mother was the first to find her voice. "Dad, that's absurd. You're confused." Grandpa rose slowly, steady as stone, and pulled a thick manila envelope from beneath his chair. He'd come prepared. He tapped it firmly. "County records don't get confused." With a nod, he beckoned me forward. My pulse raced as I walked back to the seat they'd stolen from me. Lauren's manicured hand lingered over the chair's backrest too long before she withdrew, stepping aside like she'd been shoved off stage. Daniel's jaw locked tight. My father stared into his wine as though a trapdoor might appear inside it. "Sit, Emily," Grandpa said, his voice gentler now. "You're not leaving your own table." I lowered myself into the chair. It felt different, solid, grounding, unshakable. Grandpa opened the envelope, pulling out papers that crackled in the stillness. "Grant deed," he said, tapping the first document. "Filed with the county March 9th of this year. Property held by the Klein Family Trust. Successor trustee, Emily Klein." "What?" Daniel's voice cracked. "You made her trustee?" Grandpa didn't blink. "No, son. I safeguarded this home when your parents wouldn't. Now listen carefully." My mother laughed, brittle and sharp. "This is insane. You can't just." "I can." Grandpa cut her off, sliding another page forward. "Delinquent taxes, cleared last winter. Overdue roof repair loan, paid in full. Lapsed insurance, reinstated after your father missed 2 payments. And this." He held up a bank statement, key lines highlighted. "That auto pay? Not my account. Emily set it up." Every eye at the table snapped to me. Heat surged through my cheeks, but I kept my voice steady. I couldn't risk losing the house. When the cancellation notice came, I called the insurer. We were 30 minutes from coverage lapsing. "You never told us," my father said, like I had betrayed him. "I told Mom," I answered, turning to her. 2 months ago. You were busy entertaining guests." Her lips thinned. Daniel leaned forward, elbows slamming the table, pushing the bread plate into the runner. So you wanted to play the hero? What for points? To humiliate us tonight. Daniel, Grandpa warned. Don't Daniel me, my brother snapped, that old sibling fire blazing. You've always loved showing off in front of him. He tilted his chin toward Grandpa. Teacher's favorite. That old spark of anger flared, but I let it die out. If I'd wanted to humiliate you, I would have spoken up when Mom told me to move. Lauren cleared her throat softly. We were just trying to make the seating easier. That's all. It wasn't aimed at you, Emily. Lauren, Grandpa said, his voice calm but laced with steel. You've been telling people at your club the house is going on the market this fall. She blinked. I what? No. Don't insult me. Half the town has known this address long before your real estate blog existed. Word spreads. Your words spread. He lifted another paper. Your agent friend even sent me a note about staging, without me asking. A flush crept up Lauren's ears. Daniel's glare snapped toward her. You did what? I was trying to help, she rushed out. Your parents are stressed and the market's strong. This is my home, Grandpa said, and the room froze. He turned his eyes to me. And she's the one who kept it that way. Not you. Not any of you. My father finally raised his head. Why her? Because she spent nights on hold with the bank. Because she showed up when no one else would. I didn't say it, Grandpa did. When I had surgery last year, who drove me? Emily, he answered himself. When the porch steps sank and the contractor overcharged, who argued them down? Emily. When the hallway wall was ruined by a leak, who gave up her weekend and dragged in a dehumidifier from her apartment? Emily. He paused, letting each word strike. When the mortgage lender sent a compliance letter, your wife tossed it in the recycling. Who pulled it back out? Emily. My mother's fork scraped against porcelain. Enough, Dad. He didn't stop. She doesn't shout about what she does. That's the difference. The silence was thick. Grandpa slid me a set of keys I already owned. The same ones I'd carried since college. But tonight they felt heavier. You decide who sits where in this house, he said. You decide who shows respect here. Starting now. I looked down the table. Faces reflected denial, shame, and fury. My heart thudded hard. A younger me would have tried to soothe them all, apologized, smoothed things over. But I wasn't younger anymore. I'm not throwing anyone out, I said and saw shoulders ease. But the insults stop. The threats to sell end here. If you don't respect me, you don't stay. Lauren blinked, calculating the optics. We respect you. You called me temporary, I said flatly. Last week. Her lips parted, then closed. Daniel shifted in his chair. So what's the plan then, owner? He sneered. Going to rearrange the dining room and post it on Instagram? I'm going to keep a roof over Grandpa's head, I answered. I'm fixing the plumbing that's been rattling for 3 months. I'm locking the liquor cabinet so the drunks from your poker games stop stumbling through here at 2 a.m. And tomorrow, I'm changing the alarm code. My mother's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. I already did, I said gently. I'll text you the new one tonight. The corner of Grandpa's mouth twitched pride. It hit me like warmth I hadn't felt in years. Daniel shoved back his chair so hard it screeched across the floor. This is a joke, he snapped, searching Dad for backup that never came. We're letting her play sheriff because she paid a few bills. Grandpa's gaze stayed steady. Because she saved what you were too blind to see slipping away. My father exhaled long and thin. What does this mean for the estate? It means exactly what it says, Grandpa replied. The trust gives her authority. She and I drafted a care plan. One that keeps me here, keeps the house intact, and keeps you from carving it up like a roast while I'm still breathing. I drew a breath, the room sharpening around me. Dinner's cold, I said softly. Can we sit down and eat, or does someone need to leave first? No one moved. Then slowly, chairs slid back toward the table. My mother fussed with silverware. Lauren smoothed her napkin. Daniel sat last, defiance still radiating from him. The talk, once it picked up again, was clipped and cautious, like people stepping carefully across slick rocks in a stream. Grandpa asked about my meeting with the contractor. I gave him an answer. He followed with a story about the year the power cut out on Thanksgiving, and we ended up grilling the turkey in the driveway. For a moment everyone laughed, real laughter. Halfway through, Daniel dropped his fork hard onto his plate. "So we're just going to skip over the part where she blindsided us?" he said, voice sharp enough to cut. I held his stare. "I didn't blindside anyone. I asked for help," I said. "I asked you 3 separate times to move your car so the plumber could park. I asked Mom to keep track of the contractor list. I asked Dad to take the insurance call. Nobody did. So I stopped asking. I handled it." "Wow," he said, slow clap hidden in his tone. "Bravo." Dan, Lauren hissed. "No, let him," I said, my hand steady now. "Say whatever you need. But we are not selling this house just so you can throw a down payment on your next rental. I'm finished apologizing for protecting something that doesn't come back once it's gone." Daniel shoved his chair back, legs scraping against the floor. "I don't need to sit here and get a lecture." "You don't," I said. "But you also don't get to waltz in here with a photographer and stage Grandpa's room like it's an Airbnb. That ends today." Grandpa pressed his palm on the table, the veins like blue ropes beneath thin skin. "Daniel. Stay," he said, soft but firm. "Eat." Daniel froze for a long beat, then sat back down. The tension eased slightly. After the plates were cleared, I stacked the paperwork and slid it into the envelope. Grandpa handed me a pen. On the back of a receipt that had slipped out, old from a hardware store, I wrote in my own handwriting 3 words: respect, safety, boundaries. I pushed it to the center of the table. "These are my rules," I said plainly. "For this house and for me." My mother's eyes flicked to the words, her face shifting, pride pressing against layers of stubbornness and shame. She looked from Grandpa back to me. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. I stood, the keys cool in my grip. "Tomorrow at 10, I said. "The contractor's coming to check the back deck. Be here or don't. But if you show up, come ready to help." The room seemed to absorb the weight of me standing there, refusing to bend. As I stepped toward the archway, Grandpa's voice followed, gentler. "One more thing," he said, his eyes warm. "Emily, after dinner, bring me the blue box from my dresser." My stomach dipped. The blue box. He hadn't touched it in years. "What's in it?" Daniel asked, suspicion flaring back. Grandpa smiled, private, a smile I'd only seen a handful of times. "The next chapter," he said. "And a truth your sisters earned the right to hear first." The dining room emptied faster than I thought it would. Plates scraped, chairs shoved back, excuses spilling. Lauren claimed she had emails to finish. Mom muttered something about aspirin. Daniel stormed out without a word. Only Grandpa and I stayed. He sipped his coffee slowly, studying me in that way that always made me feel both exposed and seen. "You held your ground," he said finally. "I don't feel like I did," I admitted softly. "I feel wrecked, like they all saw me as a stranger in my own skin." His lips twitched. "That's because they did. Strength unsettles people who've avoided facing it. And Emily," he leaned closer, "you've always been stronger than they were comfortable with." I fixed my eyes on the flickering candle in the center of the table. "When you told them I own the house, was that really necessary? Couldn't it have waited?" "No," he said firmly. "You were about to walk out carrying their words carved into your back. That's not what I raised you for. You needed to know it was yours before you forgot." The blue box flashed in my memory. My chest tightened. "You mentioned it earlier. The box." He nodded. "Bring it." I slipped into his bedroom, the air thick with cedar polish and his aftershave. On the dresser sat the box, dusty, worn, its brass clasp simple but closed. My hands shook as I carried it back. He set it between us and opened it. Inside were faded letters, a bundle of photographs, and a folded legal document. My throat went dry. "These," Grandpa said, lifting the photos, "are from when your grandmother and I first bought this place. It wasn't much then, just walls and hope. But every nail mattered. She wanted it passed to the one who understood that a home is more than property." He slid the folded paper toward me. My eyes landed on the title, Amendment to Family Trust. Beneath it, my name stood out in bold. "This isn't about shutting anyone out," Grandpa explained. It's about honoring the one who showed up. Legally, I needed a successor trustee. I chose the only person who never made me feel like a burden. The emotion rose so sharply in my throat I nearly choked it back. They're going to hate me for this, I whispered. They already chose to, he replied plainly. At least now, they'll have a reason worth hating. A door slammed upstairs. Daniel's heavy strides echoed, then silence. I exhaled hard. He won't let this go. No, Grandpa agreed. But his anger isn't yours to manage. You're here to guard what guards us. I slid the document shut, steadied my hands. Then I'll take it on, no matter what comes. Grandpa's smile deepened the lines around his eyes. That's my girl. A sharp knock rattled the door, jolting us both. Too late for a casual visit. My heart quickened as I opened it. Daniel stood there, face stone, eyes blazing. He didn't step inside. You think this ends here? He hissed. You humiliated me in front of everyone? You think you can sit at that table, acting like sheriff, handing down rules? I gripped the doorframe. It isn't about rules, Daniel. It's about respect. His jaw clenched, chewing rage. You'll regret this. Grandpa's voice cut through, thunder wrapped in calm. She won't. But you might, if you forget who holds the keys. Daniel's glare shifted past me, locking on Grandpa. And for the first time that night, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not fury. Fear. He spun around and stormed off into the night. I shut the door slowly, pulse still racing. Grandpa let out a breath. This is only the beginning, he said quietly. Tomorrow they'll push harder. And deep down, I knew he was right. The morning carried more weight than the night before. The house groaned, as if it sensed the storm inside. Sleep had been impossible. Daniel's threat replayed with every sound, every step outside making me think he'd returned. At 10 sharp, the contractor arrived. Clipboard in hand, he examined the sagging boards out back. Grandpa sat wrapped in a cardigan, silent, watchful. Halfway through, tires crunched over gravel. My stomach dropped. Daniel's SUV. Behind it, my parents' sedan. They spilled out like soldiers on orders. My mother's lips tight, my father's jaw locked, and Daniel, hollow-eyed from no sleep. You had no right. Daniel barked the second he hit the yard. Changing alarm codes, dragging strangers here, acting like queen of the castle. I squared myself to him. I told you last night. This house needs repairs. I'm not asking permission to keep Grandpa safe. My mother's voice sliced in, sharp and scolding. Emily, stop. You're tearing this family apart with your need to control everything. I almost laughed. Control? I'm holding together what you were willing to let fall apart. Don't twist me into the villain. The contractor shifted uneasily. I'll come back later, he muttered, slipping out the gate. Daniel stepped closer. You think paperwork gives you power? You're nothing without us. Alone you'll crumble. My heart thudded, but I stood firm. Funny, I murmured. I've been alone in this family my whole life. And somehow I never crumbled. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Finally my father spoke, his voice low, bitter. You humiliated us. Do you know what it felt like, sitting there while Dad paraded you as the hero? Do you know what people will say? Grandpa's voice thundered behind me. Enough. They turned as he rose, leaning on his cane but filling the yard with presence. What people will say, he roared. They'll say when this house was collapsing, Emily saved it. While you worried about appearances, she paid the bills you ignored. Daniel's face went crimson. She turned you against us. Grandpa shook his head. No. You did that yourselves, choosing pride over responsibility. A strength I didn't know I had surged in me. I stepped forward, closing the gap between me and Daniel. This isn't me against you, Daniel. It's about giving this home the respect it deserves. If you can't do that, then you don't belong here. His eyes widened, my words echoing back at him. He opened his mouth, then shut it, rage choking off his reply. My mother's voice wavered, almost breaking. Emily, please. You don't understand. This house, it's tied to everything. Our reputation, our reputation? I snapped. Do you even hear yourself? Grandpa's health, this house's safety, my sanity. None of that matters, but the neighbor's whispers do. Tears pricked my eyes, but my voice stayed steady. I'm done being invisible so you can polish your image. I won't apologize for doing what you wouldn't. The air thickened. For once, none of them had words. Grandpa stepped to my side, laying his trembling hand over mine. My choice was clear last night, he said firmly. This house is Emily's responsibility now. If you can't accept that, the door is open. But stop tearing at her like wolves. Silence stretched. My father dropped his gaze, shame flickering. My mother turned away, eyes wet. And Daniel stormed off again, his car roaring down the drive, gravel flying. The quiet that followed felt sacred. I released a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Did I do the right thing? I whispered. Grandpa squeezed my hand. Right and easy rarely walk together. But tonight, you'll rest without that weight on your chest. That's how you'll know. For the first time in years, I believed him. That evening, as the sun dipped low, I stood on the porch with the house warm behind me. It wasn't just wood and walls anymore. It was mine, not as property, but as proof. Proof that I could stand tall even when they tried to erase me. And maybe, just maybe, they'd learn respect the hard way. But even if they didn't, I was finally done begging for it.